Hi, it's Kevin May here in the PhocusWire Studio at the Phocuswright Conference 2021. I'm delighted to be joined by Rick Cutting-Miller. You're the Executive Vice President for the US at Road.Travel. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
You are one of our innovators that's presenting this week here. So, lots of people know about Road.Travel. You are one of our Hot 25 startups for this year. So can you give us a sense, Rick, if you can, of what the progress has been in the business so far?
Sure. We've spent essentially the first 3 years of this opportunity developing the technology, the business plan, getting everything in place, forming some very strong partnerships with brands, with destinations, with the technology companies to deliver what I think is a groundbreaking, innovative experience for drivers, for travelers, and destinations.
Yeah, okay. So the company had launched a little while ago. How have you kind of fared through, we're trying not to talk too much about the pandemic over the last 20 months or so, but it is what it is. It's affected everybody. So how have you as a business kind of navigated your way through that?
Well, it's been tough for all travel businesses and for a lot of destinations, of course. But actually in sort of this situation, there's an opportunity.
Right.
First of all, road trips has always been the majority means of transportation for people going on vacation, leisure travel. But during the pandemic, of course, that actually exploded.
Yeah.
It used to be about 3/4 of all trips were made by automobile, but now that has only increased. And with it, the desire to do trips in a very safe and secure manner, to understand where you're going, what you get to see, and to really have a better experience than just getting in your car and endlessly driving.
I'm curious. I mean, I'm based in the UK. We use a lot of rail for long range trips, but I wonder here in the US, which is the market that you now oversee for Road.Travel, there's been so much talk about, there's RV companies have done very well. It's what you guys are doing, which is really interesting as well. But do you sense that the road trip is something that's and the popularity of the road trip by virtue of the pandemic is going to continue, or do you think everyone will just start getting back on planes again?
Well, there will be a noticeable increase. The plane I was on last night was full.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the air travel is coming back. But with that said, still road trips are the majority ways that Americans travel on vacation. But now I think they're looking for a better experience. They're looking for sort of a connection with the places they visit. So our technology allows them to better plan, to curate their road trip, to book it and plan it easier, and to incorporate storytelling into their car in-drive experience.
Right.
So not only are you taking a journey through Napa Valley, but you're understanding, this is the Mondavi vineyard, and they're famous for their Cabernets. Or you're going past the French Laundry, which is one of the most famous restaurants in the United States.
Right.
So it's sort of upping the experience and the quality of the experience.
How does a company like Road.Travel expand? And it seems like a simple question, but you're centered on the US market and you're doing very, very well in other markets. But how do you approach entering a new country or kind of exposing the technology and the brand to a new country?
I'm the brand new guy on the block.
Yeah.
Over the next year, we will be expanding and opening our business to the UK, to France, to Germany, and to the United States. We're going to do that very strategically, very deliberately, and making sure that the quality of product that we put out there, the user experience that we create, is top-notch. So we're going to do that in a very sort of methodical, balanced way, partnering with technology companies, travel and tourism media companies, important brands like American Express and MasterCard, and destinations like St. Louis or Napa Valley.
Yeah.
And we're going to do that in a very sort of regimented, organized manner.
Yeah. So one of the big themes that we have this year at the conference is, we're trying to raise the awareness, not that it needs raising, but there has been over the last few years, dare I say, a reluctance for some parts of the industry to accept that sustainability is going to be the biggest challenge of our time, I think. How do you approach that, given that it's road vehicles, which some consider to have their own challenges? We'll get to electric vehicles in a moment. So how do you kind of consider the issue of sustainability and the overall kind of concept of the company?
One of my previous clients was San Luis Obispo County, California.
Okay.
And they were dealing with tourism from a management of visitor perspective. Too many visitors going to the same beach at the same time, at the same weekend.
Right.
And so literally sitting in highways like a parking lot and, not very sustainable in that regard. Road.Travel will allow destinations to move visitors to secondary or tertiary destinations within their county, within their city, within their state. So we can actually manage the experience better. We can account for the sustainability and being in automobiles stuck on a highway, for example, and doing that to address this issue of over-tourism that many destinations have experienced over the last definitely pre-pandemic.
It's difficult to say pre-pandemic. I get tongue-tied all the time, so don't worry about it. You said right at the beginning, Rick, that you're trying to forge new partnerships, and you mentioned some. How does that kind of work? So obviously it's an interface that people use in their car, but what kind of things do you want to be able to do, extra kind of things within that kind of interface for when people are driving?
One of the biggest partnerships we have formulated is with Cerence, which is an AI-driven in-car technology that allows you to have a conversation with your car. Car says, Rick, you're on this trip in Napa Valley and you have a restaurant reservation in 10 minutes. You're about 30 miles away from that. So should we call them now and tell them you're running late?
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
It gives the driver, it gives the passengers the opportunity to interact with their destination, with their itinerary, and make sure that it's as curated, it's as positive, it's as high value as possible.
Okay. And last of all then, Rick, I mean, we referenced electric vehicles just a moment ago, but then if we kind of take one step forward beyond that, we get into autonomous driving. So how do you see Road.Travel and the interface and the service kind of integrating with more autonomous vehicles and stuff like that?
Well, ultimately, taking a trip in an autonomous vehicle is about spending time and enjoying that drive, enjoying the journey. So if we can provide technology in the car experience that allows you to engage with the journey instead of sitting back and reading a book, you can understand where you're going, how you're participating in this experience, then that will only increase the pleasure and the desire of people to go on these trips.
Great. Rick Cuttingmiller from Road.Travel, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.